Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to talk about cropping specifically for newspapers or any publishing. Let's roll that intro. Right, in this video I'm not going to talk about the basics of cropping, such as making sure that the horizon is level. I'm talking more about the empty space, that copy space, negative space, whatever you want to call it. That part of the picture where there's nothing, right? There's basically nothing. You leave space for your subject, most likely a player, to breathe. And why is that important for newspapers, magazines, etc.? It's because it's space that they can use to put text. Now, if you're photographing and you're just going to post on Instagram, for example, your crop will most likely be different. You're most likely going to have a 4:5 crop ratio, so that when people are scrolling through the timeline, it occupies the most real estate. Or if you're doing a panorama in Instagram, which doesn't work very well, but you're going to be having a crop of 1:2 or by 3 or by whatever, so that when people scroll, it just feels like it's continuous. So keeping in mind the medium where your picture is going to go to will affect how it can be used. So if you're shooting for a newspaper, then you need to think of empty space, negative space. So being aware of the background of your picture is very important. So you don't want anything distracting. You want just that nice blur, or just nothing that catches the eye. You want the people to look at the subject, so at the player, and you want to allow the negative space to be taken by text. Obviously, if the picture is really good, the newspaper might just put it on the side. But for those double page spreads, for example, or for pictures where it's right at the top and you have big text on top of it, you want to think of negative space always. I'm going to give you guys some examples right now. I'm going to go through them and show you just how they work. I'm going to show you the original, I'm going to show you the picture on the actual print, and keep in mind that certain newspapers will use the same picture differently, so they will crop it differently. So not only are you having to crop with the use of the image in mind, but you're gonna have to give some space for further cropping, which is often the case. Newspapers will crop it even further. So those are just a few ideas. Now I'm gonna go over the pictures on the computer and hopefully give you guys a little bit more room for thought for next time you're out shooting. If you're shooting for a newspaper or a magazine or a blog or whatever, just keep that in mind, that empty space is very, very important. And not just for sports photographer, any type of photography that's published that will have text, such as presentations, for example. That's a good example as well. Empty space is very, very important. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoy the next part, and I'll be back to say goodbye. Okay, so I'm going to start with the pictures that do not have a lot of negative space, or any at all, like the case with this one. The crop is very tight, so there's not much room for anything. And this is how the picture was used. So basically, just to give it a description to the story that's being told. There's no copy space, no text is being used on top of the image. This one was a very important picture, and the reason for that is because we had just came out of lockdown, and this was the very first challenge game that the teams had. You could see the players were really, really happy to be back on the pitch, and they're even smiling because they have to greet each other with an elbow bump instead of the usual handshake. So this picture at the time was used by two different newspapers with two different crops. So this was the crop that I did of the picture. This was one of the crops that was used on one of these newspapers. You can see they cropped in quite a bit, and the other one they left it as is, but again, no empty space, no negative space for text. Another example here, in one of the lockdown sessions I did when there were no matches going on, I did not crop the players below the knee. There was a full body shot, but the newspaper cropped in. So just keep that in mind, that while you might envision a crop, an ideal crop, keep in mind that the newspapers might crop it otherwise. Again, just a zoomed out picture of the newspaper so you can see how it looks. This coach had won the first title for their team ever, and this is after the match. They're all surrounding the manager, giving a speech, a winning speech. You can see their faces, they're really happy that they won, and this is how it was used. So it was an historic moment for that club, so that's why the picture was chosen. This one again, same game. These two players were celebrating with their family and friends via conference call, so like WhatsApp or Facebook, I don't know, but they were calling their family and celebrating with them because the family could not be in attendance of the match. There was no public whatsoever at that match, which is sad, but again, it's still a good picture to explain what happened during that day. And this is how they used the picture. You can see it on the bottom right corner. Another celebration picture, same match. There's a little bit of copy space that could be used at the top, but this is how they decided to use the picture. And now we're starting to get into those where copy space is present, and yes, they do use it for text. So in this case, this is how they use the picture. They can see that there was a little crop with the lasso tool on the left of the player, and they use text on the right side. Another example, this was a very important goal. Tons and tons of copy space, negative space, whatever you want to call it, at the top. This is how it was used on the newspaper. Zooming in, you can see even further just how much text was used on top of the picture. Another example, now keep in mind the picture in the middle. Sometimes they will just crop everything except for the player just so they can have the text flow around the player, which is the case. But the one at the very top, tons of space. So this is the picture, the actual picture. Tons of negative space available in this picture, and that's how the picture was used with text. Again, another example, you can even see the scoreboard at the very top right corner, but they cropped it out, but they used that negative space to put in text. And zoomed in just so you can see a little bit better. And the final picture, this one I wanted to show just how empty the stands were. So on a normal day, those seats would be completely filled, but the contrast of the players with just white background, which is not distracting, is very good for giving newspapers tons and tons of space for text. And they liked it so much that they used it on double spread, so you can see it takes 2 pages. Now this is the digital version of the newspaper. I should probably get the physical one because I think it came out quite well, modesty aside. But yeah, these are just a few examples of text being used in pictures and crops being changed by newspapers and whatnot. I hope you enjoyed this video. And that's it. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up, it helps a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Until next time, take it easy guys and stay safe.